Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to share with you today the 5 steps to become a unicorn. So this is based on my research and many years of experience in dealing with startups. I have personally observed many startups, start from zero, but become a unicorn in a very short period of time. So I started to summarize and to see, are there any formula to help startups to avoid mistakes and to also gain strengths and to leverage the know-how to become a unicorn in a fast and a very quick way. So here we are. So I summarize in 5 steps how to become a unicorn. Today we're going to talk about select a big enough market. And second is customer value-based product design. And third is disruptive innovation and economic disruption. And fourth is global expansion. And then fifth is organizational transformation to facilitate growth. And then I will share some success stories at the end. Now, it is every startup's dream to become a unicorn. I'm sure as a startup founder, CEO, you also have this dream. You want to become a unicorn one day. But however, this is a very difficult journey. To start a business is easy, but to become a unicorn is difficult and very difficult. Now, there are 5 elements to become a unicorn. First, the global market access. And second, unicorn specific training. And third, capital access and economic disruption and disruptive innovation. Now, many of those look at this perhaps will agree with me for the rest, except one, that is unicorn specific training. I want to particularly make a point. You can be trained to develop a unicorn company because many startup founders, CEO are so busy at their work, but they forgot one important thing, to train themselves. I will explain to you later why this is particularly important. Now, what prevents startup from becoming a unicorn? Many think it's a lack of a big or novel idea. Now, that is wrong because there are so many ideas out there. Some businesses started with great idea, but they didn't carry through until the end. Now, it's not because of the lack of big of idea, the lack of many, many things, including executing the ideas, including managerial skills, including the global expansions. And second, lack of talents. Many companies have a lot of talents, but the problem is not lack of talents, but how to leverage those talents and work together in a group to make it towards the goal, which is a unicorn. And third, lack of good products. And oftentimes, the companies have a good products, but they fail to become a unicorn. It is because of other factors, not because of the product itself, but how you market the product, how you brand the product, how you bring the product to the market. And that is the reason why you couldn't succeed to become a unicorn. The real true reason often lies in lack of global market access. To become a unicorn, you have to have one large market. And oftentimes the domestic market is small. So you have to have access, the ability to access to that large market. And second, lack of managerial skill and leadership in managing startup life cycle. As a co-founder, you are not just managing a routine business. You're managing business going through the life cycle. And from the initial startup phase of discovery, of creating the minimum viable product to eventually a multi-billion-dollar business, your leadership style needs to be adaptive. You have to adapt to the change of your business and different type of the territory and different type of the consumer and even the evolving technologies. So you have to change your leadership style. And third is lack of unicorn training. Without proper training, you are unable to lead your organization towards the large-scale organization. So your leadership need to be adapted. Your managerial style need to be adapted. Your understanding about business need to be adapted from a local small business to a global large size business. So the training is essential for you to become a unicorn, the CEO and founders. So I have developed the 5 steps to become a unicorn. The step 1, select a big enough market. Oftentimes, startup CEOs start a business and out of their curiosity or out of their experience, oftentimes a personal experience. But in order to become a unicorn company, you need to first ask yourself, is this idea a big enough idea? Means that it could be a big potential market. Are you going to create a big enough market? If the answer is no, maybe you're still doing it, but realize that to become a unicorn, perhaps the chances are small. So select a big enough market. You have to redefine the market boundary and focus on non-customer and customer pain points. So we'll explain that later. And second, step 2, customer value-based product design. You have to design the product towards a customer value, not just design product because you like certain thing, certain trait, certain values, but rather what does your customer want? What is the value that intrigues them? And we'll introduce the idea of ERIC model. Step 3, disruptive innovation and economic disruption. Leverage technology and also economic disruption as a new way of growth. Step 4, global expansion. Challenges, opportunities, and cross-cultural management, because you're going to deal with different culture. You have to manage different type of the people. Global supply chain. So that is step 4. You have to manage global supply chain instead of regional supply chain. Step 5, organizational transformation to facilitate growth. You have to change your organization, redefine your organization in order to facilitate the growth. So manage startup life cycle, CEO leadership, people management, and the incentive. Those become very important. Okay, let's talk about select a big enough market. Now, redefine market boundary, focus on non-customer and customer pain point. These are the important things that I want to talk about in helping you to select a big enough market. Now, first, let's talk about redefine market boundary. Now, oftentimes, we like to be in a market that's already saturated, quite busy, in other words. There's a lot of sort of fishes there. But we forgot to come across to find and redefine uncontested market space. In this market space, you're the only one or few. And then there's not many competitions for that. So we call this a blue ocean, and the rest is called a red ocean. So it's important for you to redefine, even in a very highly saturated, highly competitive market, you may be able to redefine your market boundary, even the industry boundary, to create a new potential blue ocean. So this is called uncontested space, boundaries between competitive time and customer focus. This is a type of these, 3/4 of, the market waiting to be developed. So here we are. If you divide the market, you will find there's a current customer and current need. And you have the future customer with current need. Or you have current customer future need, or future customer future need. So actually, a lot of time we focus on this quadrant, which is current customer and current need. We forgot they have extended market here. So actually, the market we often view is only 3/4. We should look beyond the current customer and current need to look for segments that is not occupied by the competitor yet. So this is very important. That's what we call uncontested market space. So many people say that, oh, you know, maybe 100 years ago, you have those, you know, opportunities, but now change. All those industry has been highly contested, you know, with a lot of competitor, but that is wrong. There's always new industry emerging, always new market space emerging. So do not complain about it. Otherwise, our human society is going to cease to continue to grow. So the fact is that we always have new market coming out, new product come out. It is a true statement to say that maybe in 100 years, your futures sort of people is going to look at you to say, oh, how come I didn't come up with this idea? So it's the same thing. We should not complain that there's lack of the new market. The market is going to always evolve. The key thing is, are we adapting ourselves to the change? Can we redefine the market boundary? Let's give an example of the travel industry. We know the travel industry, the lodging is a long sort of old industry. Ever since we had a human being, we had the sort of hotels. And most of the hotel has been categorized as a 1-star, 4-star, 5-star, you know, with this ranking. But rarely people think to disrupt this industry. But there's the guy, Case Fenton. He had a personal experience and personal story. He decided to visit Iceland. Why? Because there's a lot of, sort of airlines created these deals. Maybe you often receive this kind of promotional deal, flying from Boston to Iceland, only $50. So he bought the ticket in this kind of low price. After he bought the ticket, which is a spontaneous idea, he started to look for hotels, like many travelers would do. And to his greatest astonishment, the airline ticket is cheap, but the hotel is not. I guess that's why. So he started to stretch his head to say that I got a problem because I got amazing deal on the flight, but I have a problem finding a less expensive lodging. Then he decided that maybe I will send an email to the universities there to ask the students whether I can stay in their home to share, you know, in their home. And he in his little advertisement, he even says that, oh, I just need a sofa, I just need a couch. You know, if I can just stay in your couch in your living room, I'll be happy. I'll be plenty happy. So he sent to many, you know, university, reached to many students, thousands of students, because he's not sure he's going to get an answer. So he better ask many, and hopefully he will get one person interested in hosting him. To his greatest astonishment, there are so many students come back and says that, and so many local families come back to say that we would love to host you. And I was puzzled at the beginning. If you would be you, you know, what do you think why there are so many people who are willing to accommodate, you know, Casey to their home? Maybe we can all pause for a few minutes to think about that, and pause for 5 minutes to think about that, and why so many families and so many locals would like to welcome Casey to their home. Casey is from Boston, America, all the way to Iceland to stay with them for a period of time. In this case, it's about a month. Okay, so you all have thought about that. You all have, you know, your answers. So the families, the reason they come here is because, you know, here is some of the sort of details about this not-for-profit organization. The key reason here is because it's an exchange of accommodation with exchange of culture, So many families want to host Casey because he was from American Boston. And Casey can bring a lot of American culture and American experience to the family so that the family, without traveling to US, can understand how things are done there. At the same time, Casey, of course, not just getting a free sort of accommodation, but also by living at the local's home, he has a first-hand experience about the local culture. They can go even together, go to a party. They can go to a park. They can talk. They can chat. So this is far beyond of a lodging, but rather a cultural exchange. And this is what is missing in the hotel setting. You go to a hotel, you close the door, you're by yourself. You're alone. But when you live with the locals, then you start to talk to the locals. You interact with the local. You understand the local culture. So that is enhanced value. So you can meet the new people and couch serving, empty sofa, guest room, empty bed, floor, tent in the yard. Everything is possible. Because from the customer point of view, I want to save money, but I don't care about the condition. So couch surfing successfully redefined their market boundary. Original market is paid accommodation from 0 to 800, let's say. And here the customer are mostly business family. They need comfort, convenience, luxury, privacy. But then he redefined, expanded, as a matter of fact, the market boundary into the cultural experience, the new market boundary, cultural experience, okay? So these are the students, young people seeking experience. They need to save money. They want a social. They want a cultural experience. They want a fun. They want a lively. They want to contact with the people, particularly the local people. So that's how Casey redefined the sort of hotel industry into a free, culture experience driven, a new customer boundary. And this market space is huge, and there's nobody playing there. So that's why Couchsurfing became so successful, became a global community of 14 million people in more than 200,000 cities. It's a huge market, and no hotel chain is bigger than them. They got a VC investment, it's a sharing economy concept, okay? So when you redefine the market boundary, you have to look at a few things. The first principle is the 6 paths principle. I look across alternative industry, look across strategic group, and look across buyer group, look across complementary product and service offering, look across functional, emotional orientation of an industry, and finally, look across time to share the trend. And second, focus on non-customer. Oftentimes, we look at the customer as our existing customer. And I would argue the existing customer is important. But what is even more interesting is to look at those who are not your customer. Here we call non-customer. There are 3 tiers of a non-customer. First is called soon to be, which means that they are your customer, but soon they will not be your customer because they are moving away. And second is a refusing customer. This is the people who doesn't want to be your customer. It's because maybe your customer doesn't have value for them. And third is unexplored. That means you forgot about those people. You don't think they could become your customer. You totally ignored them. So there are 3 tiers of the non-customer. So first is the soon-to-be customer, the buyers who are on the edge of your market. They're ready to jump ship. They're ready to leave you. They're not loyal to you, okay? They're not satisfied. They will leave at any time. What is the reason? because the product has pain point. Customer need has not been fully met. There is no perfect alternative product. Let me give you an example. We have all perhaps been to Pret a Manger. This is Pret a Manger is actually a French name. And it's a British company. They take a French name because they think the French know how to eat. So the background is there are many first-year customers for the restaurant business because the professionals who having lunch at a restaurant started to change the view, started to think about whether they should go to a restaurant. Why? Their growing concern over the need for healthy eating. Give people the second thought of eating out in the restaurant. And second, professionals did not always have time for a sit-down meal. And third, too expensive for lunch on a daily basis in some restaurants. And finally, more prefer grab something on the way or even skipping lunch. So then the Pret a Manger, they, their key commodity, they wanted lunch fast, fresh and healthy and reasonable price. And their formula is fresh, finest ingredients, faster than ever fast food, reasonable price. This is what they come up with. So Pret a Manger is a fast food chain based on the UK. The company emphasizes on the use of natural ingredients and advertise all sandwiches are made on the day of purchase in the kitchen at each location. So they're not a they position themselves as a restaurant. Otherwise, they won't be able to sell the price. And they're not just selling sandwich. It's not a sandwich shop, it's a restaurant. And fuel left unsold at the end of the day is collected, food left unsold is collected by charity. At present, there are 450 shops located in UK, US, and France, Singapore, Switzerland, Hong Kong, etc. They have a very big revenues. Yeah. They put along the walls a clean refrigerator shelf stocked with, more than 30 types of sandwiches, average $4 to $6, made fresh every day. Salad, yogurt, and also a juice and sushi and among others. Each store has its own kitchen and nothing left to the next day. Yeah. And then if we look at the floor here they did is, if we look at, like McDonald's fast food, they queue, customer come to queue, they order, they pay, they queue, they pick up, they eat, they leave. 15 to 30 minutes for the whole process. But for Pret a Manger, what they do is they queue, they order, they pay, okay? And here sometimes they browse, they pick up, and all those steps they have, killed. You just browse, you pick up, and you pay, and then you leave. They shorten this process to about 90 seconds. So, the customers serve themselves, So the non-customer inspire us more to innovate in this. So we just talked about the first tier of non-customer. Now let's talk about the second tier of non-customer. So second tier non-customer are refusing non-customer. Those are the buyers who consciously choose against your market. They don't want to buy your product. So it's very frustrating for you. They're very dissatisfied with the existing products because the product doesn't meet their customer needs. The product cannot bring any value to the customer. That's why they reject the market, they reject the product, they don't want to be your customer. So give one example. Chinese restaurants in the United States, they are usually quite boring, cheap, unsanitary, and it's too Chinese. Because it's too Chinese that the Americans usually doesn't appreciate, it's too Chinese. Most of them, of course, there's some does appreciate that. Their target, customer are Chinese, blue-collar workers, foreign workers working in the United States. And this creates an enormous second-tier non-customer, which is high-end, high income, white collar young Americans. So they don't go to Chinese restaurant. For instance, if you would have a date, you would prefer to go to a French, Italian, or American restaurant because atmosphere is great there. They have nice alcohols. But go to a Chinese restaurant feels like it's not a very romantic date, for that. That's a general stereotype for that. Of course, there's some Chinese restaurants do differently. So the second tier of non-customer appears, these are the kind of customer who are passionate. They're happy. They're looking for atmosphere, romance, and very trendy. So there is a company called P.F. Chang. Perhaps if you live in America, you will know. It's everywhere in the shopping mall. And also they're quite well established. It's a Western style Chinese restaurant, by the way. And it offers some Chinese value points, such as it's being very mysterious. It's ancient culture. So I personally had an experience going there. That's a long time ago. I think it's 1998. When I was traveling in San Diego, I was staying in a hotel, and I remember it's a Hilton hotel. And after I checked in, I decided to go to dinner for a Chinese restaurant. So I searched, I find this is the nearest one called P.F. Chang. I drive my car and I went to the restaurant. When I arrived, there a bunch of the young American, guys stopped me with uniform, well dressed. I said that, sir, can I, are you coming to P.F. Chang for dinner? I said, yes. And they said, well, can I park your car? I was completely shocked because I would never imagine a Chinese restaurant can offer valid car parking services. So I thought they are trying to steal my car to some extent. But then I understood they're just working there. So I give them my car. They drove away, parked. And then I come to the reception. And very surprisingly, it's two American beautiful girls welcomed me. And this doesn't usually happen in the typical Chinese restaurant. It would be a Chinese, waitress or waiter to welcome, the guest. So I was very surprised to see that. And then to my greatest astonishment, and she told me that, sir, we're fully booked. So you have to wait for 30 minutes. So after I hear that, I said, oh, no, I don't wait for a restaurant. I have never done that. I don't have time to wait. As I was leaving the restaurant, I thought about it. Wow, this is such an interesting restaurant. I must know, why they're so successful. So I returned. I said that, do you have a bar? Maybe I can sit in the bar. They said, sure, you can sit in the bar, have dining. So I ended up on the bar and watching what is going on there. I noticed the restaurant is decorated with, the Chinese ancient atmosphere, like terracotta army, for instance, or the horses. But yet they don't have those heavy Chinese elements like red carpet or the wall with a Great Wall, statue or something like that. Instead, they have completely Western setting elsewhere with Western music and Western table, Western chair, which is very comfortable. And then they have the waitresses are all American girls. And then those who are cooking inside of the kitchen, I noticed, are Mexicans. And then you have the bartender, young American guy, who are shaking and making the cocktails for you. Now, I was completely impressed with what they do. So basically, they also offer Western value, comfort, habit, and affinity. Offer valid parking service, front desk reception, bartending. This is missing in the Chinese restaurant. Each dish have a standardized process, and the chef is not necessarily Chinese because the chef is just mixing things together. They don't need to be such an amazing chef. And P.F. Chang became widely successful, as of 2017, has opened 208 restaurants in the United States and more than 100 in the international market under the license agreement. And they are listed on the NASDAQ, so quite amazing. 2020, P.F. Chang opened the world's first to-go restaurant, today in Chicago. It became extremely successful. Tier 3 non-customer, unexplored non-customer, the buyers who are in the market distant from you. So oftentimes you forgot these people exist, and customers are often ignored, far from the market. You think they will never buy your products. Maybe some of you would agree. Oftentimes we think that certain group of people never would buy. Of course, with current condition, but if you can change that condition, maybe they will become your customer. So the reason you have third-tier non-customer is because you ignore customer needs. Industry, standards lead to the ignore potential customer needs. What can you see from this photo? On a rainy day in 2003, Mr. Tata, a businessman, and saw a family of 4 riding a woman's motorbike. They were soaked with the rain. So Tata sought to produce cheap transportation for those who can only afford a motorcycle. So he understood the average price for the car in India is about 4,000, SUV and MPV about 12,000. So the price between motorcycle is $800 to $1,000. So in India, market share of motorcycle is around 75%, while the car is only 14%. In many cases, a motorcycle often carries the whole family. So in 2009, Tata organized a team to develop the world's cheapest car, Tata Nano. So it's $2,000. Only a few months, the factory received over 200,000 orders and became the most popular car in 2010. So how do they become that? Let's see. So first, they try to understand what is the current market boundary. So 14% of the cars in Indian market, right? Somewhere between 2,000 to 80,000. But then the entire car manufacturing market ignore this 75% motorcyclist. And they believe that they cannot afford the car. So hence, they did not design a car for them. So this represents a new market boundary, which we just early on learned, that define the new market boundary. So in order to develop a rural market, Tata company have a very convenient sort of method of selling their Nano. So customers can drive their own car home in 2 to 4 hours, help with insurance, mortgage loans, learn to operate the Nano, teach them how to drive, obtain a driver's license, car registration. All this stuff, it can be done within 2 to 4 hours. And their sales continue to rise. And in global car sale ranking, Nano has been ranked the top 10 for many years. Now, the conclusion is Tata Nano's success is due to its new market boundary. So let the motorcycle people drive. They ask a simple question, why they don't drive the car? The answer is they couldn't afford. Whose problem is that? Is that their problem? They don't have money? Or it's our problem as car industry? We did not design a cheap car for them. That's what Tata, the founder, figured out. It is not their problem, it's our problem. We ignore this group of people. They became a third-tier non-customer because we think they couldn't afford to drive a car. So, they started in 2013. Nano's monthly orders started to drop. I'll explain to you why. Because they started to drop because people wanted to change from a cheap car, to a car that's more fashionable. So Tata Nano should be more following customer new demand, new needs. In 2013, what happens is they created the first tier of non-customer again. After they solved the third-tier customer program, a non-customer program problem, then they created the first-tier non-customer again in 2013. This is often what happens if we don't adapt to the customer needs. We'll end up like this. 3-tier of non-customer. We have some examples from the Chinese case. I will not explain, maybe skip from here. Okay, select a big enough market, customer pain points. Customer pain points is everywhere throughout the buyer's experience cycle. Could start with advertisement, making choice, purchasing, pay, transport, use, service. In these 7 steps of the customer experience cycle, you can see you could creating the pain point. For instance, advertisement. Maybe you are doing in the wrong place, or your advertisement is too much wording that they just don't get it, right? Or your message is not clear. And choose, we sometimes give too much choices. The consumer got frustrated, right? And purchase, is it easy to buy, to find the product? Okay, pay, can you pay easily? Oftentimes, for instance, you travel to Paris, get a taxi. At the end, you're as an international traveler, you don't have euros, so you want to pay with a credit card. Oh, first of all, they're very unhappy to take a credit card. Second, they're gonna start the machine, open it up, and then take a long time to, deal with, the payment. So that is became a very big problem, in terms of customer, frustration, customer pain points. So, and it also could happen in the transportation, shipping the products, or the use, the package, the product, the quality, or could be service, the service attitude, etc. So in each of those steps, there's customer pain points, So what we need to know is to understand what surprised you, how valid is your view, like what surprised, and how could you validate this, and what trend pattern do you see? For instance, in the rural China, in some mountain areas, the farmers use washing machine to wash potato, which causing the congestion in the pipe. And when the technician arrived, after service call, the technician was laughing because the farmers are washing, sweet potato. So instead of blaming farmer for that, they see this as an opportunity. So they make the pipe bigger, and then they created a machine, washing machine, that can wash many things, not just clothes, but also sweet potatoes. So you see how you detect through the customer pain point process the new customer needs, and to make your customer loyal to you because you care about their needs, you care about them, and you solve their problem. Movie theater is too far away from shopping center, so there is a Wanda, Wanda movie theater built in the shopping mall, because they know that people wanted to go to the movie, but they just don't want to just go there alone. They want to in combination of things. So going to a shopping mall, do some shopping, watch a movie, and also have some other entertainment, that would be the way to go. So they build the shopping center with movie theater in, with coffee shop, with restaurant, with, obviously other shops as well. No one guarantees the loan. Then there will be, a mortgage, insurance company, detect this opportunity. No one read the product instruction, you get rid of it, make it digital. The biggest trouble is to carry the rice back home after shopping at Darenfa. Then in China, they created something called 1号店, the #1 store, which they deliver to your home, particularly a lot of heavy stuff. And the reason one does not buy CD is because they have to pay for 10 songs while they only like one. That's the beginning of the Apple's, the iTunes music. So they start to sell by piece rather than the whole CD, At the beginning, the whole music industry was shocked, like, oh, wow, you have to produce all 10 songs. That's a winner. Otherwise, if you only have one best, then the rest 9 is not working. That's what industry, of the music was living upon. Just have one hit, and then they bundle with some mediocre sort of pieces. But now they think that you're going to ruin your revenue. But as a result, actually the revenue from the single music sale went skyrocketed. So customer pain point, I'll give you an example of the vacuum. So typically the vacuum, vacuum cleaners, they offer some customer pain point. It's a single function, and the big size, wired, and inconvenient after sales, not enough suction secondary pollution created, all this. So in 1978, James Dyson was troubled by, decreasing suction when he, tried to clean the studio with a vacuum cleaner. The dust bag inside the fuselage will be locked by dust, resulting in a weak suction. After 5,127 experiments, the world's first dust-free bag vacuum cleaner was invented. Okay, so that's what you see today. Perhaps many of you actually own this cleaner. I own a few of those. I absolutely love it. I would never trade off, to do that. Yeah. So they built a Shanghai Center to specialize in the Chinese consumers, all those things. So we know what Dyson is doing. So as you can see, it's very convenient. They have and design is very sleek. They can be easily charged. The battery last long, and easy to remove the dust. So almost doesn't require any training. Any cleaning. Of the cleaner itself. So it's very easy to operate. So they solve all those problems, for instance, with our mighty King solve multiple uses, and wireless small vacuum on demand, strong suctions, and online expert consultation to solve any problem. How to find customer pain point. Be customer of your own product. They're gonna be surprised to see how your product has been torturing customer for a long time. Observe every step of the customer experience cycle. Observation and experience from sales, technical stuff, customer complaints and feedback, return goods, analysis of 3-tier non-customer is going to help you to deal with that. You can use this customer pain point analysis table. Start with description of what is the pain point, what is the cause, what is the result, what is the solution, what is the customer value that this solution can bring. It's very important. So to a large extent, innovation is to solve customer pain point. Customer pain point exists in every steps of customer experience cycle. They are big or small customer pain point. Take priority to address those with greater impact on the customer. Not all customer pain points have to be dealt with. Some it's okay to leave there. Don't generate new customer pain points while dealing with the pain points. So there are many ways to solve customer pain point, and focus is if there is a value for innovation. So that is very important. Okay, so the next, on the second, I would like to talk about, second step to become a unicorn. I'd like to talk about customer value-based product design. How shall we design our products, right? So the 4 action frameworks. So first is, what I would say. For the customer value, oftentimes we try to bring as many value as possible to customer, but we need to ask this very important and fundamental question: does our customer value it? It's not about whether your technology can do, but whether they can value it. So first is eliminate. Some of the value points the customer doesn't need, just take it off. Some you need to reduce the value point. Some you need to create because it's missing. And some you need to increase. Industry standard is here. You're going to do far greater than the industry standard in some cases, and to make the customer notice you. Okay, so I want to play this. Okay, so I just play here. What do you see from this DJ? Basically, what the DJ is doing to mixing sounds, right? He's doing Eric model. He's making some part of the music louder, some weaker, right? So that's, and some eliminate, some is recreating. Okay, so it's an Eric model, readjust the value so that the audience became more, exciting about it. So first, eliminate. Why we need to eliminate it? Its existence is worthless to the customer. It results in customer pain point. It may destroy other value. Why not eliminate in the past? Because it's the industry norm. Everybody got it. Everyone has it. Having it is not a bad thing. And what results after elimination? Raise the customer value, remove customer pain point, and reduce the cost. So some further notes: eliminate those which cause customer pain points first. Do not eliminate wrongly, by mistake. Be cruel when you're making elimination. Sometimes we feel, oh, it's our baby, we should always keep it. But actually keep it means a really bad situation for you. And second, reduce. Why we should reduce it? Why not reduce it in the past, right? And so why we reduce it? It must exist. We have to have this value. So we cannot eliminate, but the value shouldn't be too high. The customer do not value it so much. Okay, too high value will result in customer pain point. So why we didn't do it in the past? Industry norm, everybody else, sets it at a high level. Being too high is not a bad thing. We often say, oh, we offer more than what customer want. Then what's wrong with that? But I tell you, it is wrong because the customer doesn't appreciate it. So what results after reduction? Raise customer value, eliminate customer pain point, reduce cost. And you can reduce what leads to customer pain point and appropriately make a reduction based on customer needs. You don't want to reduce too much, the customers start to have pain again. So increase. Why increase? Customer value it very much. So we have to increase this value. Be not enough will result in customer pain point. Why not did it in past? Industry norm, the one made an increase. Not increasing is not something, bad. So what results after increase? Raise customer value, eliminate customer pain point, and the increase cannot result in customer pain point. And the increase should fit customer needs. Okay. Create. Why create? Customer need it so much, so we have to create it out of blue. Meets the new needs. And sometimes industry norm, no one had done it. Customer had no such need. Is our imagination. Okay. What results after the creation? May create a new customer value, eliminate customer pain point, raise product competitiveness. And what is created is very useful. The key is to create the new value for the customer. I'll give you an example. Oreo. Oreo was born in 1912, so a long time ago, very long, prestigious brand. One of the best-selling biscuits in the US. After entering the Chinese market, but for a long time, Chinese consumer do not buy, his, account. So why? They figure out it's too sweet, too, large package, and then the price is too high. So then they need to do the Eric model, okay? Eliminate. So they reduce the sugar, content because it's, and also package, oh no, they deal with package. They eliminate this package, which is too big. They change it for Chinese market. They reduce the sugar, so when you reduce the sugar, actually you're better off because your cost is lower. But actually customer love it because it's too sweet for Chinese. They increase nutrient. How do they do that? A young child in other words eating the cookies, by dipping it into the nutrient-rich milk. They combine with milk, like position this as something bring potential, nutritional value to you, So that's why many young kids would buy because their parents would think that this is more nutritious. They create unique design. In China, design package is everything. So they created this new design for the consumer. So this is their ERIC model, we had just talked through. Very successful, became the leader of the Chinese market, due to its understanding of the Chinese market and consumer needs.